All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today, so let's get straight into it here. The first story that I have for you guys today, I want to talk about Quint Beastwood, a.k.a. Quentin Uriah. So Quentin is a Canadian bodybuilder, and I think he's got a ton of potential, and he's posted a couple progress pictures, some physique updates lately, where he looks pretty damn impressive. And the thing that impresses me most about Quentin is kind of similar to the thing that impressed me about Blessing Awodabu. And that is that both of them kind of had the ability to put on a significant amount of size while maintaining a very good shape to their physique, very good lines, and most importantly, a very impressive V-taper. Now, in this specific picture that you're looking at here, this front double bicep, this is what I'm talking about here. Obviously, he's a big dude, but he's not sacrificing his midsection at the expense of getting big. And that's what I think is so impressive about him. And that's what I want to see from the younger generation of bodybuilders, the younger crop of guys that have these really good genetics. Because make no mistake about it, it's not just, there's no magic reason why his midsection is this way. A big part of it is genetics. A lot of guys would probably take the same stuff he takes, train the same way he trains, and have a completely different result with their midsection. So a lot of it is genetics, but this is what I want to see be rewarded more in pro bodybuilding, is a small waist like this, great V-taper, still a pretty good amount of size, great arms, pretty good legs. I think he needs to work on his chest a little bit, but overall, very good bodybuilder, very promising bodybuilder. And he looks to be in pretty good shape in these pictures. Now, I don't know what he's weighing here or if he's a certain number of weeks out from any upcoming show. We know we've got a couple shows coming up, so maybe he's going to jump in one of those. But he does look really good, and hopefully we do get to see him on stage soon, and hopefully he is rewarded, because I think he's got a very bright future as a pro bodybuilder. Just look at his physique, man. The guy's very impressive, very round, full muscle bellies. And again, that small waist is something that nowadays seems to be something of a rarity in the IFBB. So shout out to Quentin. Hopefully he does well, and hopefully if he is planning on competing soon, he gets a high placing and more people will become aware of his physique, because I do think he's very genetically gifted. And like I said, we can't discount the factor that genetics does play in bodybuilding. When we see a guy with a great V-taper like this, a small waist like this, it's not only a matter of what they're taking and how they're training, but it's also largely influenced by genetics. But I would like to see someone like him get rewarded more for having a structure like this. Now, next up in the news, I wanted to keep you guys updated here because I saw the IFBB and the Mr. Olympia social media pages posting that they had updated their point standings on the Mr. Olympia website and the qualified competitors list. So I wanted to show you guys that real quick and kind of explain to you what exactly that means. So as far as the qualified competitors list, that obviously didn't change much because only the winner of the Tampa Pro qualified for the Mr. Olympia. So that's one of the biggest changes to the qualified competitor list. Well, the only change is that Hunter Labrada's name is added to the list. Brandon Curry, William Bonac, Hadi Chupin, Dexter Jackson, Rolly Winkler, Phil Heath, Cedric McMillan, Nathan Diasha, Juan Morel, Flex Lewis, and Hunter Labrada is the qualified competitor list. But more importantly is the point standings. Now, this is something that I think is going to be the list that changes the most over the next couple months as we see more and more shows start to happen. And this is why I think Big Ramy is in jeopardy of not qualifying for the Olympia. I think he's going to need to do another show if he wants to get to the Olympia. So in the qualified point standings, and this changed quite a bit with the Tampa Pro this past weekend. So top three in point standings at the end of the season, that's who gets to go to the Olympia. So they're going to take that list of qualified competitors and then add three names from the point standings, the top three highest points on that list at the end of the season. So right now, it's Lucas Osladil with 10, Big Ramy with 9, and Regan Grimes, but technically Regan is in a three-way tie for third now that the Tampa Pro is passed. Now, I know that Regan is planning on competing some more, and I think Ian is planning on competing some more, but Regan is tied with Steve Kuklo and Ian Vieira. That Tampa Pro placing put Ian in a technical qualification spot for the Olympia. So this third place spot is definitely going to be changing in the coming months. And likely, with Big Ramy only ahead of that third place spot by 1 point, Big Ramy's probably going to be knocked out of that second place spot and into fourth place pretty quickly. So I know sometimes these things can get a bit confusing for those of you that don't really follow bodybuilding as closely and don't know how the Olympia qualification works. But essentially, top three in point standings goes to the Olympia. highest points is the order of the standing. So also on this list, you have Dwayne Walker added in there, who has a point standing of 7. Now he is tied with Sergio Oliva Jr. and Andre Muzi. So you got a lot of ties in here. And that means that if some of these guys compete in these upcoming shows, they are instantly going to be bumped up in placings out of that tied space. So Dwayne Walker, for example, keeps competing, he's going to pass up guys like Sergio Oliva Jr., who is tied with him. So these things can change really quickly. The qualified competitors list isn't going to change as much. Mostly what you're looking at there is if someone wins a show, that's an Olympia qualifier. These are all first place winners on the qualified competitors list. So you will know when they do qualify. But the point standing is something that we all need to keep our eyes on going forward. All right, so next up in the news, Julius Maddox with a physique update. Now, the interesting caption on this physique update was obviously a joke, but he says, muscularly fat, 275 weeks out from my bodybuilding debut. Now, while this is clearly a joke, I wanted to pose the question to you guys. Do you think Julius Maddox could potentially transition over to bodybuilding? Now, I know that after he successfully attempts and completes his 800-pound bench, I have faith that he's going to do it. I have faith that he is going to bench 800 pounds and break the world record that he already set. But after he does that, I know he's planning on switching to strongman. Now, could he go the direction of Larry Wheels and not only pursuing powerlifting to strongman, but then pursuing bodybuilding as well? Is this something you think that Julius Maddox has the potential to do or not? So let me know your thoughts on Julius's physique in the comment section below. And who do you think his physique is most comparable to as a professional bodybuilder? What pro bodybuilder does he look the most like in this photo? Wrong answers only. Comment below. Now, next up in the news, let's use this Julius story to kind of switch gears into powerlifting news. So, Rauno Heinla deadlifted 340 kgs, which is 750 pounds roughly, for a whopping 10 reps. So that was one of the more deadlift feats of strength that I've seen done recently. But in addition to that, in the silver dollar deadlift, there has been a new world record set in the silver dollar deadlift with a world record of 550 kgs or 1,012.5 pounds. Now, this was done by Anthony Pernice, and this was done this past weekend, and in doing so, he broke the previous unofficial world record, which was 545 kgs or 1,200 pounds, and that was done back in May. So his official record, he beat his own official record of 1,190 pounds or 540 kgs. So he beat the unofficial record by 5 kgs and the official record by 10 kg. So very impressive deadlift, and 50 kgs, or I should say 49 kgs, heavier than the deadlift world record set by Hafthor Bjornsson. Now, to keep in mind here, the silver dollar deadlift is very different than what the regular deadlift is. So basically, if you guys are super confused by what a silver dollar deadlift is, it gets its name from back in the day. Old-timey strongmen used to lift barrels full of actual physical silver dollars. And the whole idea is basically it's an elevated deadlift. So the bar is typically higher than it usually would be on a regular deadlift, 18 inches to be exact. So it's kind of like a block pull would be a good comparison. So that's why the rig looks so funky, because the whole idea is that the bar is elevated more than it otherwise would be. AKA, if you're lifting a barrel full of silver dollars, the bar is probably going to be a little bit higher on a freaking barrel. So also in bodybuilding news, Keone Pearson preparing for his debut in the 212 category, switching over from classic physique. Now, we just saw a very successful transition from George the Bull Peterson from classic physique to 212. Now, granted, George was a much higher placer than Keone, George being a multiple-time top 3 placer at the classic physique Olympia, but he transitioned over to winning his first classic, or winning his first 212 show. Now, Keone, in my opinion, is a little bit more thick. He looks more like a 212 bodybuilder than George almost, because Keone, he just looks a little bit denser, a little bit wider, but still very classic physique, very small waist. As you can see in this post, he's hitting a vacuum pose with the front double, which is the primary thing I don't want Keone to lose. He says he's weighing 207 pounds here, so he has some room to kind of fill out in that division a little bit. I don't want him to fill out too much to where he loses those lines and loses that vacuum pose in the midsection. But I think Keone looks phenomenal here, and I'm excited to see his debut. It's going to be at the Boston Pro in 10 weeks. Now, I emailed the Boston Pro people. I actually want to sponsor that show. They never did get back to me, so if you're watching this, I'd love to sponsor the Boston Pro, throw you guys some money, get my logo up there, something like that. So if you're watching this, hit me back. Now, the final story here is more of a fun trivia that I actually didn't know until today. So if I didn't know, a lot of you guys probably didn't know this, but did you know that Arnold Schwarzenegger actually had an older brother? So Arnold Schwarzenegger's brother's name was Meinhard Schwarzenegger. He was 1 year older than Arnold, and he actually passed away at the age of 24 years old back in 1971. So I actually never knew that Arnold had a brother, but interestingly enough, we know that Arnold kind of had a strained relationship with his parents, specifically with his father, but that wasn't the case with his brother. Him and his brother apparently got along very, very well, and he looked up to his brother for advice and guidance. But in 1971, Meinhard passed away in a tragic car accident, and Arnold actually did not go, reportedly, to Meinhard's funeral because he did not want to see his father. That's the report. I don't know if that's true or not. I know in Pumping Iron, when his dad died, he talks about when his dad died that he didn't go to his dad's funeral. But I actually heard that when Meinhard passed away, Arnold was only given 1 day's notice. So I don't know how that story really went. But it was back in 1971, and at that point, Arnold was over here in the States becoming a bodybuilding star with Joe Weider. So I don't know. I thought you guys might enjoy that little piece of bodybuilding history trivia because something I actually didn't know. So let me know in the comment section below. Did you guys or did you not know that Arnold had a brother? So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Please give this video a thumbs up if you did, in fact, enjoy it. And as always, subscribe to this channel if you have not subscribed already. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.